Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 36, Part 2. Splendid, Xingzhe! Pressing the golden band on his head and tightening the skirt on his waist, he held the iron rod and came straight up to the treasure hall of Mahavir. He pointed at the 3 statues and said, "You are mere false images sculpted by mud and decorated with gold, but you do not completely lack senses inside. Elder Sun here is escorting the divine monk from Great Tang to reach West Heaven, where he will worship Buddha and ask for scriptures. We have come here tonight specifically to ask for lodging, so you had better deliver our names right now. Should you turn us down, I will use my rod to break your golden bodies to pieces and return you to your original form of dirt." While the great sage was being aggressive and throwing around threats, a laborer came to burn some late-night incense. He lit several incense and stuck them into the censer in front of Buddha when Xingzhe snarled at him, which sent him tumbling on the ground. When he got up, he caught sight of Xingzhe's face, and that gave him another fall. Frightened and stumbling, he ran into the abbot room to report, "Elderly lord, there is a monk outside." The imperial abbot said, "All you laborers are wanting a beating. I already instructed them to squat by the front corridors. Why are you reporting to me again? Say that again, I will hit you 20 times. The laborer said, "Elderly lord, this monk is not like the other. This one looks quite heinous and hasn't got a spine." The imperial abbot asked, "What is he like?" The laborer answered, "He's got round eyes, gaping ears, a hairy face, and the mouth of a thunder god. He is holding a rod in his hands with teeth gritted in menace, looking for someone to beat up." The imperial abbot said, "Let me go have a look." Just when he opened the door, Xingzhe pushed his way inside, and how truly hideous he looked. An irregular, sharp face with 2 yellow eyes, forehead protruding while his fangs grew outward. He was nearly like a crab, where his flesh grew on the inside and bones outside. The old monk was so afraid, he shut the door of the abbot room. Xingzhe caught up and smashed the door to pieces, telling him, "Sweep 1,000 rooms as soon as possible so Elder Sun can sleep." The imperial abbot hid inside his room and said to the laborer, "Do you know why he's this ugly? It must be karma. All the lying gave him such a face. Even if you count all the monk chambers, halls, towers, and corridors, there aren't even 300 rooms in total. Yet he's asking for 1,000 rooms to sleep in. Where do we even find that many rooms?" The laborer said, "Master, I'm also a man with shattered nerves. It's up to you how you want to respond to him." And so the imperial abbot shouted loudly in a trembling voice, "That elder asking for lodging? This little desolate mountain of ours cannot offer the convenience. We dare not keep you here. Please seek lodging elsewhere." Xingzhe then made his rod as thick as a basin and stuck it straight in the courtyard, saying, "Monk, if it's inconvenient to you, you can move out." The imperial abbot muttered, "We've lived in this temple since childhood. Our grandmasters passed it to our masters, and them to us. We have to further pass it on to our disciples. I wonder what he thinks he's doing, charging in without reason and telling us to move." The laborer said, "Elderly lord, don't be embarrassed. We might as well move out. The rod has already come through the door." The imperial abbot scolded, "Quit the nonsense. We've got 400 to 500 monks here, both old and young. Where are we supposed to live? If we move out, there is nowhere for us to stay." Xingzhe heard their conversation and said, "Monk, if you haven't a place to move to, just send someone out to take an exemplary blow." The old monk said, "Laborer, go and take that blow for me." The laborer panicked and said, "Oh, Gramps, with a rod as huge as that one, and you're telling me to take exemplary punishment?" The old monk said, "You train soldiers for 1,000 days so that they can be put to use for 1 moment. Why won't you go?" The laborer said, "Speak not of simply getting hit by that rod. When it falls on you, you will be pressed into mincemeat. The old monk said. Forget about it falling on you. If it stays standing in the courtyard, and you forget that it's there while walking at night, a single bump will give your head a huge hole. The laborer asked, Master, if you are aware of its weight, why send me out to take that hit? And so they began bickering between themselves. Xingzhe heard them and said to himself, They really can't take a hit. If I kill each with a stroke by the rod, Master will blame me again for murdering. Let me just find something else to hit for them to see. Suddenly looking up, he saw a stone lion sitting outside the abbot's room. So he raised the rod and with a loud bang, shattered the thing into pieces. The monk saw it from a hole in the window. Numb and weak from the fright, he hurriedly crawled under his bed. The laborer, on the other hand, crept towards the opening of the stove, begging non-stop. Gramps, the rod is heavy. It is heavy. We can't take it. Please spare us. Spare us. Xingzhe said, Monk, I won't hit you. Tell me, how many monks are there in this temple? The imperial abbot answered in a shaky voice. There are a total of 285 rooms with 500 certified monks. Xingzhe ordered. Quickly, go take a complete roll call of those 500 monks. Go out wearing long robes and bring my master from Tang Dynasty inside. I will spare you then. The imperial abbot said, Forefather, as long as you don't hit me, even if I have to carry him inside in my arms, I will do it. Xingzhe said, Hurry up and go. The imperial abbot then said, Laborer, speak not of having shattered nerves. Even if your heart is shattered, you still have to call everyone over to welcome Tang Monk, the elderly forefather, inside. The laborer had no choice but risk his life. He dare not break through the door, so he instead crawled through the dog hole from the back and came straight to the main hall. Beating the drum in the east and striking the bell in the west, the noises together disturbed the monks along the two corridors. They came to the hall to ask, It's quite late now. What are you doing striking bells and beating drums? The laborer answered, Go change now and line up behind the old master. You are heading outside the mountain gate to welcome a lord from Tang Dynasty. Those monks really did tidy up and get into groups to greet them outside. Some wore their gashaya, some wore a slanted robe, and those without put on a straight gown. The truly poor ones owned no long clothing, so they just draped some skirts on their shoulders. Xingzhe saw them and asked, Monks, what clothes are you wearing? The monks saw that he was rather menacing and heinous, so they answered, Elder, don't hit us, we can explain. These are cloths we received in the cities. There are no tailors around, so we just wrap them into the simplest of attire on our own. Xingzhe heard that and secretly let out a laugh. He then escorted all the monks out through the mountain gate before telling them to go on their knees. The imperial abbot kowtowed as he called loudly, Lord Tang, please come inside the abbot room. Bajie saw them and said, Master, you've truly been useless. When you went in, you came out in tears with a mouth so pouty you can hang an oil bottle on it. Why does elder brother possess the wit to get them to welcome us with kowtows? Sanzang lamented. Fool, you have no manners. As the idiom goes, even ghosts fear a nasty man. Sha Monk saw them kowtowing and paying respect, which made him feel rather sorry and uncomfortable, so he went up and said, Please get up, all of you. The monks kowtowed and said, Lord, if you can give your disciple a word and tell him to not wield that rod, we would be happy to prostrate here for a month. The Tang monk then said, Wukong, don't hit them. Xingzhe said, I haven't hit anyone. If I did, the place would have been uprooted by now. Only then did the monks get up. Some went to pull the horse, some took care of the luggage, while others lifted the Tang monk, carried Bajie, and held Sha Monk's arms. Together, they entered the mountain gate before arriving in the abbot room, where they were seated accordingly. The monks once again prostrated towards them. Sanzang said, Please rise, abbot. No need for all the formalities. It will only burden this humble cleric. You and I are both Buddha's disciples. The imperial abbot said, The elderly lord is the envoy of a superior nation. This little monk did not send his proper greetings. You have arrived at this desolate mountain today, yet my worldly eyes could not recognize your honorable presence when we came across each other. Dare I ask, elderly lord, on your journey, do you take a vegetarian diet or do you eat meat? We will arrange your meals accordingly. Sanzang answered, We have a vegetarian diet. The imperial abbot then asked, As for the disciples, do you, Lord, prefer meat? Xingzhe answered, We are also vegetarians. We're all vegetarians by birth. The monk said, Oh Lord, a man this menacing can be a vegetarian too. A braver monk approached to ask, If you are vegetarians, my lords, how much rice is enough? Bajie answered, What petty monks! Why even ask? Cook a whole big pot for each one of us. The monks all panicked and ran to wash their utensils. They made tea and food in their rooms before lighting lamps up high and spreading out tables and chairs just to serve the Tang monk. Master and disciples had their vegetarian meal for the evening as the monks began tidying up the place. Sanzang thanked them and said, Elderly abbot, I apologize for causing trouble in your precious mountain. The imperial abbot said, No such thing, no such thing. We've been negligent, truly negligent. Sanzang asked, Where shall we rest? The imperial abbot said, Elderly lord, don't you get impatient. This little monk knows what to do. He then called the laborer and said, Have you a few there who can take orders? The laborer answered, We have, master. The imperial abbot then instructed, You shall send 2 to gather fodder and feed Lord Tang's horse. Then send several to the front and clean 3 meditation rooms. Lay out the bedding so the lords can soon retire. The laborers took their orders and each wrapped up their tasks before inviting Lord Tang to go rest. Master and disciples then pulled the horse and brought their luggage out from the abbot room. Coming straight to the door of the meditation rooms, they could see that the inside was brightly lit, with 4 rattan beds laid out on the 2 sides. Xingzhe saw that and asked for the laborer in charge to bring fodder over. When fodder was placed inside the room, they had the horse tied up before telling the laborers to leave. Sanzang stood below the central lamp as 500 monks stood on the sides, all at his service and dare not turn away. Sanzang gestured to say, Please return, all of you, so this humble cleric can rest at ease. The monks dare not withdraw. The imperial abbot went up and ordered them, Only return after you've helped the lord to bed. Sanzang said, This is quite enough help. Please retire, all of you. Only then did everyone disperse. The Tang monk then walked out the door to relieve himself when he saw a bright moon above. He then called, Disciples. Xingzhe, Bajie, and Sha monk all came out standing. The moonlight was so pure and clear, and the moon's image so profound. Truly, when the moon shines high, the earth becomes a clear sight. Thinking of his return trip home, Sanzang composed to the moon a long poem in the olden style, which ended with the following line. Tonight we quietly find our joy in this mountain monastery. When will the moon and I go home together? Xingzhe heard his words and moved closer to ask, Oh, master, all you know is reminiscing the homeland upon witnessing a bright moon. What you do not realize is that the moon is meant to be a standard for the laws of nature. When the moon reaches the 30th day of the cycle, its lit side, which is the gold of its young soul, fades away as its dark side, the water of its yin soul, fills the circle. That's why it is completely black and without light, and we call it hui, meaning the obscure. During this time, the moon will have intercourse with the sun and become impregnated by sunlight between the final and first day of the cycle. On the 3rd day of the cycle, the first stroke of yang appears. By the 8th day, the 2nd stroke of yang is born. Half dark and half lit, the dividing line will be flat like a string, hence the name 上弦, meaning upper bow. And when the cycle reaches its 15th day like today, all 3 strokes of yang are present, and hence the united full moon we call wang, meaning the watch. On the 16th day, the first stroke of yin is born, and by the 22nd day, the 2nd stroke. Now, half lit and half dark, the dividing line becomes flat, like a string, hence the name 下弦, meaning lower bowl. On the 30th day, all 3 strokes of yin are present, and we've reached hui again. 'Tis the law of nature's cultivation. If we can warmly preserve our internal energy and reach completion, then not only is meeting Buddha an easy task, returning to your homeland will be just as simple. As the poem goes, after the bow before and before the bow after, there's medicine evenly blended in every sign present. Once we have them picked and refined in the furnace, our will and merit become the West Heaven. The elder heard that and instantly became enlightened. Having understood the true words, his heart was filled with delight as he thanked Wukong. Shamak chuckled on the side and said, "While elder brother is quite right here, all he talked about was how it is yang before the bowl and yin after the bowl. Half yin and half yang, the gold receives the water. What he didn't mention was that the way water and fire mix is determined by destiny. Only by the power of earth can they reach peaceful balance. All 3 coexist without competition. The water runs in the long river, while the moon is in the sky." The elder heard that and felt his mind once again opened up. It truly was a case of how understanding one way will open up 1,000 new paths. Once you solve the mystery of non-life, you will become an immortal. Bajie, on the other hand, clutched on the elder and said, "Master, quit listening to their nonsense. We'll be late for bed. And this moon, listen. Soon after it wanes, it will grow round again. Just like me, it is born imperfect. When I eat, you blame my large appetite. I can hold a bowl and somehow drool too much. They earn their blessings from wit. I stacked my goodwill by being foolish. Let me just say that fetching scriptures will pay back your karma on the 3 paths of evil. You will rise straight up to heaven with wagging heads and tails." Sanzang said, "Fine then. My disciples are very exhausted from traveling. Go to bed before me then. I shall just read the scroll for a bit." Xingzhe said, "Master is not making sense. You've left the family since a young age and become a monk. How are you not familiar with any scripture you've studied when you were a child? You then received an edict from the Tang Emperor to find Buddha in West Heaven and seek the true classics of the Great Vehicle. We've not completed our merit, not met Buddha, and not fetched any scripture. Which scroll are you even reading here?" Sanzang answered, "Ever since I left Chang'an, we've been on the road every single day. I fear that the scriptures from my younger days might be fading in my mind. Fortunately, I'm idle tonight, so I shall do some reviewing." Xingzhe said, "If so, we shall head to bed first." The 3 of them each lie down on a rattan bed. The elder, meanwhile, shut the door of the meditation room, turned up the silver lamp before opening up a scroll of scriptures to read in silence. It really was, by the first drum beat on the tower, all human bustling subsides. In a fishing boat by the wild shores is where the fire goes out. We do not know how the elder will depart this temple. Please wait until the next chapter.